Trump thought his 100% tariff would bring China to its knees. Instead, China just fired back with a retaliation so devastating that it's going to cost American companies billions, destroy thousands of American jobs, and prove that nobody wins a trade war. In the last 72 hours, China has blacklisted 18 major U.S. companies, frozen their assets in China, banned Chinese companies from doing business with them, and imposed 84% retaliatory tariffs on American goods. And they're not done yet. Beijing just announced they're not afraid of a tariff war and will continue retaliating until Trump backs down. This isn't just diplomatic posturing. Real American companies are losing access to the world's second-largest economy. Real American workers are about to lose their jobs. And real American investors are watching billions of dollars evaporate as U.S. stocks have already lost $2 trillion since Trump's tariff announcement. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what China is doing to retaliate, meet the American business owners whose companies just got destroyed, understand why this trade war is spiraling out of control, and figure out what happens next. Because if you think Trump is winning this fight, you're not paying attention to what China is doing behind the scenes. Let's dive into the economic war that's about to change everything. How Trump started this war. To understand China's retaliation, you need to know how this escalated so fast. It started with China imposing export controls on rare earth elements, the minerals essential for everything from smartphones to fighter jets. China controls over 70% of global rare earth processing, and they decided to weaponize this dominance. Trump's response was nuclear. On October 10, 2025, he announced a 100% tariff on all critical software and goods from China, effective November 1st. Essentially, anything imported from China would double in price overnight. Trump thought this would force China to negotiate on America's terms. He was wrong. China doesn't negotiate when threatened, they retaliate. Within days, China's Ministry of Commerce announced devastating countermeasures that are going to cripple American companies trying to do business in or with China. And unlike Trump's tariff that hasn't taken effect yet, China's retaliation is already destroying American businesses right now. The 18 companies China just blacklisted. China's first strike was surgical and brutal. They added 18 U.S. companies to their unreliable entity list and export control restrictions. What does this mean in practice? These companies are now banned from doing business in China. Their assets in China are frozen, and Chinese companies are prohibited from working with them. The blacklist includes major aerospace and defense contractors like Sierra Nevada Corporation, Shield AI, and other defense technology firms. But it's not just military companies. AI firms, technology companies, and manufacturing suppliers are also being targeted. Meet Robert Thompson, CEO of a mid-sized aerospace components company that just got blacklisted. His company had $47 million in annual contracts with Chinese manufacturing partners. That revenue is gone overnight. We got the notification from our Chinese partners on Wednesday. Robert told me from his office in Colorado. They said they're legally prohibited from continuing our contracts. $47 million in annual revenue, gone. I'm going to have to lay off 120 employees next month. These are people with families, mortgages, kids in college. And there's nothing I can do. Robert's story is being repeated across American manufacturing. Companies that spent decades building relationships with Chinese partners are watching those relationships evaporate because of Trump's tariff war. Sierra Nevada Corporation, one of the largest companies on the blacklist, is a major aerospace and defense contractor. Their Chinese operations are now frozen, their assets seized, and their Chinese business partners are legally barred from working with them. The financial impact? Potentially hundreds of millions in lost contracts and frozen assets. Trump said his tariffs would protect American companies, Robert said bitterly. Instead, he just destroyed us. China's retaliation is worse than anything the tariffs were supposed to prevent. The 84% counter tariff that's crushing American exports. Blacklisting companies was just China's opening move. Their second strike was imposing 84% retaliatory tariffs on American goods, essentially matching Trump's aggression with equal economic warfare. American farmers, manufacturers, and exporters are about to get destroyed. Agricultural products, industrial equipment, technology goods. Anything exported to China now faces tariffs that make American products completely uncompetitive. Meet James Wilson, a soybean farmer from Iowa whose family farm has been selling to China for 30 years. China is the world's largest soybean importer, and American farmers have depended on this market for decades. Our soybeans were already struggling to compete with Brazilian supplies, James explained from his farm. Now, with 84% tariffs, we're completely priced out of the Chinese market. I'm looking at losing 60% of my revenue. My farm has been in our family for 4 generations. Trump's trade war might end it. The agricultural sector is getting hit hardest, but American manufacturers are suffering too. U.S. companies that export machinery, vehicles, chemicals, and industrial products to China are watching their market share evaporate as Chinese buyers switch to European or Asian suppliers not affected by tariffs. Sarah Chun runs a manufacturing equipment company in Michigan that exports $23 million annually to Chinese factories. Our Chinese customers are already switching to German suppliers, Sarah said. Once we lose these relationships, we're not getting them back. Even if the tariffs end tomorrow, the damage is permanent. China has learned they can't depend on American suppliers. This is the hidden cost of trade wars that politicians never mention. Relationships take decades to build and days to destroy. Once Chinese companies find reliable non-American suppliers, they don't come back. The $2 trillion stock market massacre. While Trump celebrates his tough stance on China, American investors are getting slaughtered. U.S. stocks have lost over $2 trillion in value since Trump's 100% tariff announcement. That's not Chinese money. That's American retirement accounts, pension funds, and investment portfolios getting decimated. Meet David Park, a 58-year-old engineer from Seattle with $840,000 in his 401k retirement account. 40% of his portfolio was in U.S. companies with significant China exposure: tech companies, manufacturers, retailers. Since Trump's tariff announcement, David's account has dropped to $670,000. I lost $170,000 in 2 weeks, David said in disbelief. I'm 7 years from retirement. This was supposed to be my secure future. Now I might have to work until I'm 70 because Trump decided to start a trade war. The companies suffering most are those dependent on Chinese manufacturing, Chinese markets, or Chinese supply chains. Apple, Tesla, Boeing, Caterpillar, Nike, American icons with massive China exposure are watching their stock prices crater as investors realize the trade war is going to devastate their business models. Every major American company warned Trump that tariffs would hurt American businesses more than Chinese ones, explained Jennifer Walsh, a financial analyst. He didn't listen. Now American investors and workers are paying the price, while Chinese companies simply shift to other markets. The $2 trillion in lost stock value represents real wealth destruction for millions of Americans who never asked for this trade war, but are suffering the consequences. China's secret weapon: they don't need America anymore. Here's what Trump fundamentally misunderstands. China in 2025 is not China in 2018. They've spent the last 7 years deliberately reducing dependence on American markets, technology, and companies. Trump's tariffs are painful for China, but they're survivable. For many American companies, losing China access is an existential threat. China has the world's largest domestic consumer market, 1.4 billion people with growing purchasing power. American companies need China more than China needs American companies. When Trump forces this choice, American businesses lose. Trump keeps saying China needs us, explained Michael Rodriguez, who ran Asian operations for a Fortune 500 company for 15 years. That was true in 2000. It's not true anymore. China has alternatives for almost everything they used to buy from America. We don't have alternatives for China's manufacturing capacity, rare earth minerals, or consumer market. China's retaliation strategy is simple: make American companies suffer so much that they pressure Trump to back down. And it's working. Business groups, chambers of commerce, and industry associations are frantically lobbying the White House to end the trade war before more American companies are destroyed. But Trump's ego won't let him back down, which means this economic warfare is just beginning. What happens next? Escalation or negotiation? China has made their position clear. We do not want a tariff war, but we are not afraid of one. They're prepared to match every Trump tariff with equal retaliation. The question is whether Trump will blink first or continue escalating until both economies are in crisis. If Trump backs down, He looks weak and loses credibility with his base. If he escalates further, more American companies get blacklisted, more workers lose jobs, and more investors lose money. It's a lose-lose scenario created by his own miscalculation. China's strategy is patient suffering. They can endure economic pain longer than American politicians can endure voter anger. Every American job lost, every farm foreclosed, every company blacklisted creates political pressure on Trump to end the trade war. China is playing the long game, Michael Rodriguez explained. They're willing to take short-term pain to force Trump into a corner where he either backs down or faces economic crisis before the next election. American businesses and workers are collateral damage in this strategy. For the 18 blacklisted companies, the farmers losing export markets, the workers facing layoffs, and the investors watching retirement accounts shrink, this isn't abstract geopolitics. It's their lives being destroyed by a trade war nobody wanted. The uncomfortable truth: nobody wins. The most frustrating part of this entire situation is that it's completely unnecessary. Trade wars don't have winners, only different levels of losers. Trump's tariffs hurt American consumers through higher prices. China's retaliation hurts American companies and workers through lost markets. Both economies suffer. Both countries lose. Economic advisors, business leaders, and economists warned Trump repeatedly that aggressive tariffs would trigger retaliation that damages America more than China. He didn't listen. Now American companies are being blacklisted, American farmers are losing markets, American workers are losing jobs, and American investors are losing trillions. Meanwhile, China is angry but fundamentally fine. Their economy is more self-sufficient than ever. They have alternative trading partners, and they're winning the diplomatic battle by positioning themselves as the reasonable actor responding to American aggression. Trump wanted to make America great again. Instead, he's making American companies irrelevant in the world's fastest-growing market. We want to hear from you. Are you or someone you know affected by China's retaliation? Has your company lost Chinese contracts? Is your job at risk because of the trade war? Share your story in the comments because the mainstream media isn't covering the real human cost of Trump's trade war. And if you're an investor who's lost money or a business owner facing uncertainty, what are you doing to protect yourself? Your experience might help others navigate this crisis. If this video helped you understand what's really happening beyond the political rhetoric, smash that like button and subscribe for more honest analysis. Watch next. The companies that will survive the US-China trade war. Find out which American businesses are positioned to weather this economic storm and which ones are doomed.